Hello, boys. Welcome back to the political science class. Today, we are going to start a new chapter, that is parliamentary and presidential forms of government. And in this particular chapter, we are going to deal with the meaning and features of parliamentary and presidential forms of government. To begin with, parliamentary forms of government. Let's see what is parliamentary form of government. In parliamentary form of government, what we see is it is constituted by those members of the parliament who are in majority. In parliamentary form of government, the candidates are first elected to the parliament, and whichever party has the majority, they form the government. That's why in parliamentary form of government, there are two parts of executive. One, nominal executive. Nominal executive also means constitutional executive. It also means the executive which is just for namesake. And the second one is the real executive. The word itself clears the meaning. The real, those who really run the government, that is called real executive. It's also called actual head. So this is the parliamentary form of government. If you want to see the example, like nominal executive, which is also known as the head of the state, and real executive, head of the government. So in India, we have two types of executives. That's why it is a parliamentary form of government. We have president, who is the nominal executive, and the head of the state. When we talk about who is the head of the state, it is the president. And when we talk about who is the head of the government, it is the prime minister and his cabinet. So that is called real executive. In Britain as well, we have two parts of executives. Nominal executive, the monarch, the queen at present, and we have the real executive, prime minister and the cabinet. So we saw that in parliamentary form of government, there are two parts of executive. One is just for namesake, nominal executive, and the other one is real executive, who is the real head of the government. So in India, we have president and prime minister. In Britain, queen and the prime minister. Moving on to presidential forms of government. In presidential forms of government, we do not have two parts of the government. As we saw in the parliamentary form of government, to become an executive, the candidate has to be elected as the member of the parliament. First, the candidate has to be elected as the member of the parliament. Then only he or she can become the member of executive. Whereas in presidential form of government, there is no relation between legislature and executive. That's why in the first line itself we see there is a separation of power between the legislature and the executive. So the executive is not responsible or answerable to the executive, and executive is not answerable to the legislature. They are separated. In parliamentary form of government, there are two types or two parts of the executive, whereas in presidential form of government, there is only one part, and that is the head of the state or head of the government, single person, the president. If you see the example of USA has a presidential form of government. We have president in USA, who is the head of the state and also the head of the government. In conclusion, we can say the parliamentary form of government, we have two parts of executives, and in presidential form of government, we have only one part of executive. For an example of parliamentary forms of government, we can take India and Britain, and the example of presidential form of government, we can take the president of USA. That's all for now. See you in next class. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe, keep learning.